Taking a look at BlackBerry stock, right now at the moment, 2.5 awesome things have happened. Like I mentioned in the last video, this upward trend support line right here, dating back since October of 2020, November 2020, January 2021 right here, and March of 2021 as well, bounced off the support level and went up to the upside. We were underneath it recently, but then we spiked up above it. And I forgot to mention in the last video, given how we're so close to earnings, or not that, but the fact that when you're close to earnings, the days leading up to earnings, there's usually nice spike ups to the upside. I wouldn't say they're run ups, they're just spike ups to the upside. It doesn't always happen, but I would say 80% of the time for BlackBerry stock, it does happen here and there. And then given how we're just slightly lower than the support level right here, we don't need much of a spike up to get back up above support level right now at the moment. And the one other thing is too, it's still acting as support, by the way, this line, even though it had a massive false breakout here the whole entire time. Not necessarily a false breakout, but just a breakout in general. It still acted as support twice, so it bounced off right about here and bounced off right about here. It might be difficult to see, but two support levels plus a resistance level, so this line is still active at the moment. And the other two developments indicating more upside. So given everything, now the graph in general is hinting of an upside, especially since earnings is coming up in the next few trading days. It could potentially solidify it. So right now they're not solidified yet, but they're hinting at it, and I'm going to explain further more as well. So right here is the 1 year chart. This is the MACD line. This indicates if it's a bearish or bullish movement. So in terms of the 1 year movement, right now it is in the negative still. It is still bearish movement, but the recent development is the line is somewhat trying to curve. It's not necessarily curved yet, but it's trying to curve. But then the bars right here is becoming a lighter shade of red. That's new. It wasn't a lighter shade of red before. And it's slightly almost the same bar, if not slightly less. So that is some good developments. This is for the 1 year chart. This is honestly awesome stuff. And given how earnings is so close in the next like 2 trading days, because today's June 22nd, 2021, closed at $13.41. After hours is slightly low. It does kind of suck, but I think because of earnings, this 1 year chart has a chance to reverse to the upside. Now, it could reverse and be a false reverse and then get knocked back down before crossing this line right here. That is still possible, but as long as earnings is a little bit more than good. So I cover the earnings in terms of what you could expect for earnings. The video will pop up right here. Highly encourage you to watch it. I'm expecting a beat. The only thing is though, it has to also beat the last year's same Q1 earnings last year, so June 24th as well, which was reported on June 24th last year. So if it beats that as well, it needs to beat $214 million. That'd be great, and the stock will actually have a good run up. And to be honest, I would assume that this would curve up to the positive and be a bullish run. Hopefully it does do that. The thing is though, most likely, street estimates I think was 176 million on the high side, if I can remember correctly. I'm expecting 189 million, somewhere around there, 184, 185 million for the earnings report, which will still be a beat. The only problem is I know analysts, they're going to be like, it's a decline of year over year. And fair enough. And if that's the case, then I could see where this will curve up a little bit, but probably still get knocked down in terms of the long term. Like I mentioned in the last video, where technically it'll come back down to, hypothetically, here's the 5 year chart just to visually show better. Here's the bounce off support. Hovered around support, bounced off support, and it would come down here. Now, the thing is though, the third good sign I'm going to show right here is right now we have a reversal to the upside. This is new. This wasn't really fully developed. I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, but this one for sure is new development. So this in the 5 year movement. So for the 5 year movement, just keep in mind, the longer the chart is, the harder to move this it is, like the harder it is to move this overall. And that's a good sign because you know in terms of hypothetically somewhat of the longer term what the movement is. Right now it is in the positive, it is bullish, so it is optimistic. That's awesome. But this morning this bar was a lighter shade of green, indicating that the bullish run up is slowing down. But it looks like it got revitalized and it's actually continuing, which is awesome. So it could be potentially, given how close earnings is, if it could hold up potentially and do well, then it could be another play like this where it was curving down and then it went back up. Now, it won't be like this yet. I think it's going to be more like this. We're going to have a prolonged run up. And the reason why I'm stating that is because, so if you entered here back in May of 2020, forget about the March 2020 because everything was going down in March, but May 2020 when it crossed over to the positive. So you can see the MACD line right now crossed over to the positive. And yeah, it was flat for the whole entire time, but you would have read this as a good entry level and then got trapped hypothetically because yeah, it went lower. It basically consolidated the whole entire time, but it never technically crossed over to negative. Now, if it did cross over to negative, that would indicate more downside. Not guaranteed, but usually does. The thing is though, it was staying above in terms of the bullish run for the MACD movement, and you would have had a massive run up the whole entire time, which would have been awesome stuff. And then even here, when the MACD line was curving to the downside, technically indicating that it might cross over to the bearish territory and be a negative movement, but it never crossed over and then it went back up. So even if you sold right here, like I mentioned in the last video, you would have missed out on this massive run up. Now, again, these are all not guaranteed signs, but usually they're pretty decent indications in my opinion. But there's that. Now, so this is the third great sign, the fact that the bar is a solid green again. So the bullish movement is technically not yet fully slowed down, and especially since earnings is coming up in the next couple of trading days, given that there's potential the patent sale surprise hopefully comes through. I'm not anticipating yet for this earnings to happen, but there is a chance because they did state that it'll be in the next 1 or 2 earnings, most likely the second one, which is the next one we have, not the June 24th one. But these are all the indications. Now I'm going to go to the 3-month movement chart right here. So the thing is though, in terms of tomorrow, so for June 23rd, because the annual meeting's happening tomorrow and all stuff, the levels, I think, so what's going to happen is first it's going to have some issues passing 1350 price point. It's like about 1357 and then 1361 and 1367. So those price points, it's going to have issues passing in terms of the upside. Those are resistance levels. I looked more in details because this is a 3-month chart. It's not necessarily going to show the full details. But the level that's going to have issues as well, because it coincides with all these moving averages right here, is in the ballpark of the $13.70, $13.90, $13.94, basically anywhere between $13.70 to $13.99. Going to have major issues. Even at $14.05, it's going to have issues passing. So ultimately, anything below $14.27 is going to cause issues because I'm anticipating what's going to happen. Let's just say if it consolidates a little bit at 13.27 and all that stuff, and then finally before lunch, I would say, spikes up, it's probably going to have issues passing 13.70, 13.90 and all that stuff like I mentioned, and then 14.05. But then at one point, it might go up to 14.27, but it's probably going to get knocked down at 14.27 and then probably retest it again. I hope it retests it, and if it does it just like this, which I highly doubt it's going to actually play out like this exactly, because if it does, that'd be awesome, but I doubt it. Then it's forming an upward trend support line right here, which would be pretty awesome, and it would kind of indicate a reversal, a decent reversal. Hopefully it does happen, but I'm not banking on it, but hopefully it does. The reason why I'm mentioning 14.27 as resistance, this is the first level that we need to technically pass as a major level. You can see right here, horizontally, there's a bunch of times it spikes up to like the 14.20 range, and then gets knocked down, and then false breakout, and then knocked down and all that stuff. Now, keep in mind, these ranges I give you, they're not necessarily exact. It's just in the ballpark, because then there is resistance between the 14.30, 14.50, and as well on that side. And then once we get to that, we're ultimately, so once we pass that level, like let's say 14.27, around that range, there's more levels, but if I don't have enough time to cover them, because the next level is 14.70 and then the $15 price point, especially the low $15 price point, because even if we hit $15, it's not really we're in the clear. We need to get in the low $15 price point and stabilize at that price point. But I'm going to quickly rush through the next levels because it's going to take some time. I don't think we're going to spike up that quickly. Hopefully we do, but I don't think we will. If we do, just keep in mind the levels. These levels are the most important ones. So after $15, yes, there is resistance between $15 to $16, but $16 is going to be a major wall. More specifically, between $16.30 to $16.50. But I think we're going to have issues with the low $16 price point to begin with, just by itself. You could even see, by the way, here, actually it doesn't matter about that, but let's just go to like right here, the low $16. You can see a bunch of times it got knocked down at the low $16, but from a deeper dive when I looked at it, yeah, I'll have issues at the low $16 price point, but even 16.30, 16.50 is going to have issues. But again, just getting to $16 is going to be an issue to break that low $16 price point barrier. Then we're going to have issues with the 17.30, 17.50, and plus this downward trend resistance line right here that dates back since January 2021 and then June 2021 as well. The only thing is though, this might not be in play. Like I mentioned in the past videos, it only has 2 touch points right now, so it's not a guaranteed downward trend resistance line yet. So if it were to go up to it, let's just say the next trading day, June 23rd, then you're going to have issues at 17.50, which coincides with the 17.30, 17.50 price points. Now, if it does go down, what will the support levels be? The support levels right now at the moment is, I don't know if I already mentioned it, but it's like 12.97, 12.70 price points. And then the next one is like 12.40 to 12.50 range. But then the ultimate one, the thing is though, if it just starts breaking down completely, I'm banking on 12.15, 12.18 to hold it. Essentially the low $12 price point range. If that doesn't hold, and it's pretty strong though, so it should hold. But if it doesn't hold, and the reason why I'm saying it's pretty strong is given how close we are to earnings. I'm expecting some decent spike ups, not run ups, but spike ups to the upside here and there. So to break 12.15, I would be pretty impressed if the stocks just somehow did break through that, because I'm not anticipating it. But if it does, then the next levels, from my recollection, is I can't remember exactly. I apologize, but I think it was, oh yeah, that's what it was, 11.60 to 11.80, that price point range. And then after that is the 11.27 range. I know I'm giving it a little bit of an exact, but essentially 11.20 to 11.30. I think it was specifically 11.27 to 11.32 from what I can remember in terms of horizontal support. But anywhere between 11.20 to 11.30, not between, but the 11.20 range and the 11.30 range. Those would be the next support levels if 11.60, 11.80 breaks as well. There will be support at 11.50 and 11.40 as well, but I think it might not hold too much, unfortunately. But given all those, summarized as a wrap, there is a potential everything's reversing. We're back up above support level, by the way, like I mentioned. MACD line for the 1 year chart is actually showing some signs of slowdown in terms of the negative bearish movement. So that is good. And technically, usually when it's showing this, it's not a guarantee. It's like a 50-50 like coin flip. Usually if you want to take advantage, this is technically a good time to enter. The only problem is, given how far we are from the major support levels, you can't necessarily fully, like, it's harder to bank on entering when you technically could see it potentially coming down one day and bouncing off the support level and going to the upside on the 5 year chart. So it technically indicates a good time to enter, but just be cautious. That's the only thing. Quick disclaimer, by the way, I forgot to mention this. I'm not a professional, not a financial advisor. Everything I mention is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. That's it for the video. Hopefully you found it helpful. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this or other stock videos or other financial videos that I'll be posting in the future, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. And that's basically it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.